In the past few videos, I've had a strong focus on philosophy and anime, and today is no different. I absolutely love philosophy and how many viewpoints and questions come from diving deeper. And so, I really can't help myself. But hey, maybe someday I'll make a lighter video, we'll see. Today's topic is the ideal society, which is heavily showcased in the anime Psycho Pass. I'll point out the benefits and flaws of the system, as well as the conflicting ideals. So without further ado, let's start with an introduction to the Sibyl system. Sibyl is an old term for a person who can foresee the future, pretty much like an oracle, and is exactly the kind of allegory we're looking for. The Sibyl system revolves around several different ideologies, and the first one we'll focus on is determinism. Sibyl works around the idea that a person's future actions are ultimately determined by external causes that can be predicted. This is the basis of determinism. The Sibyl system predicts this by using a numerical measurement system to measure someone's probability to commit a crime. This number was given the name crime coefficient. Your crime coefficient is decided by your stress level, aka your hue, and some other biological readings that are performed by cymatic scans. If your crime coefficient rises above 100, you are deemed a latent criminal, someone who will potentially commit a crime in the future. You are sent to isolation where you await the judgment of your future role in society. If your crime coefficient rises above 30 though, you are targeted for execution because the Sibyl system deems you as too dangerous to be left in society. Sibyl carries out these judgments with people given the ranks of inspector and enforcer. These people wield dominators, which are special guns that act as the judge, jury, and executioner. While the judgment and justice is still decided and delivered by Sibyl, it was decided that man must still wield the weapon that kills, and so enforcers and inspectors were born. Enforcers are latent criminals that have been specially selected by Sibyl to carry out judgment, while the inspectors are handpicked civilians chosen to supervise the enforcers since they are potential criminals in the eyes of Sibyl. And this is the basic structure of the justice system in Japan in 2113. By the ideas of determinism, everyone's future actions are products of their environment and their basic biological structure. It's pretty much like the metaphor people are puppets of their future. It's debatable how accurate this idea is, but there is some truth in it. For instance, if you witness murder, are abused, or are under an overwhelming amount of stress, you are more likely to commit a crime than someone who hasn't experienced these things. When experiencing a traumatic event, your mental state is all over the place and can result in a variety of actions and emotions. If one of the possible outcomes of your emotional distress happens to be a crime, Sibyl will judge you off that. After all, preventing a crime before it happens is the best overall option for society. It eliminates the possibility of someone getting killed, traumatized, or hurt from someone else's actions. This idea creates a controversial dilemma though. Is it ethical to deem someone a criminal before the crime's committed? Take the first episode of Psycho Pass. Akane's first assignment is to rescue a woman who has been captured by a psychotic man. After being sexually assaulted, tortured, and then watching as the man gets killed in front of her face, her Psycho Pass raises well above 300. I mean, she just saw enough trauma to last 2 lifetimes. I can't really say I blame her. Since the woman is now a target for execution, Kogami prepares to end her, but Akane steps in and stops him. Soon after, the woman's Psycho Pass goes under 300, and she gets the chance to be rehabilitated. In this scenario, it's not like Kogami or Akane were wrong. It was just a difference in how to handle the situation. To Kogami, it was highly probable that the woman would commit a crime. In this same scene, she almost blew up the entire facility with a match while in mental turmoil. From Akane's view, there was a chance that the woman could still be saved from becoming a criminal. And it's this that brings up a confusing argument. Why does Sibyl decide one minute that someone will commit a crime and then later decide the chance is lower? This is really just due to the fact that Sibyl's constantly monitoring every person's possibility to become a criminal at any moment. Someone could be a criminal today, and then tomorrow not be, and then go back to being a criminal. One's probability to commit a crime constantly changes based on the environment they find themselves in and their ever-changing stress levels. It explains a bit why Sibyl controls people's careers, so that they can find where someone will most contribute to society and be happy, which in turn eliminates a lot of career stress. This is just one of the many things Sibyl does. Now so far, I focused mostly on the basics and the positives of the Sibyl system. But, like everything in the world, Sibyl has its flaws. The system works off the idea of utilitarianism, which is basically the belief that actions are right if they are useful or to the benefit of the majority. The goal is the greatest happiness for the greatest amount of people. How you achieve it is irrelevant, good or bad. This structure of thinking is something the show really focuses on in the first season. The Sibyl system will sometimes justify criminal actions if in turn they lead to the betterment of the majority. For example, if murdering someone is more useful to the greater majority of society, then Sibyl sees the action as morally okay. We see this occur when Sibyl executes Kagari when he finds out the true identity of Sibyl. Sibyl weighed Kagari's potential future contributions to society versus the potential for their identity to be leaked, and they found that he'd benefit the larger majority of society more by being dead. But when it came to the characters Shogo and Akane, Sibyl deemed telling these two their identity more beneficial to the majority than preventing a leak. In my eyes, this idea that criminal actions can be justified if they benefit the larger majority contradicts the Sibyl system's original objective of fairly judging criminals and preventing crimes. To me, this is the biggest flaw of the system, the inability to judge fairly. The people that Sibyl are unable to fairly judge are given the title criminally asymptomatic. These people can commit crimes like murder and potential upturn of society, and the Sibyl system doesn't even bat an eye. The reason the system doesn't step in, though, is because they can't. Sibyl is physically unable to do anything without contradicting itself. So, in order to evolve their system to prevent further asymptomatic criminals, Sibyl takes in these people and adds them to their system. Yeah, you heard me right. The criminals that Sibyl is unable to rightfully judge are the ones who make up the system that judges. Now, while at first it seems disgusting that the ones deciding the fate of people of society are criminals themselves, you have to look at it from an outside perspective. These people are recruited for their uniqueness that will allow them to find and prevent people similar to them who would have been asymptomatic. Basically, they use them to expand their knowledge of the minds of criminals and their values. It's like the saying, to catch a criminal, you must think like a criminal. It's also worth noting that these guys have a superiority complex and usually think like sociopaths, which makes them emotionally withdrawn from the judgment process, allowing them to only judge logically. And so here we are, with a minorly flawed system that's sole purpose is to judge. There is a challenger to the beliefs of the system. Our main character Akane, who, it's worth mentioning, is the most morally right character in the series, represents the ideology of deontology. Deontology is the thought that the morality of an action should be based on whether that action itself is right or wrong under a series of rules rather than based on the consequences of the action. Akane views the Sibyl system as necessary to society. Without it, there'd be chaos and instability, but with it, there's a chance for justice. While Akane views the system as necessary, she does at times disagree with how they handle justice. Akane sees the murder of Kagari as wrong since the rules have deemed it that way. But Sibyl believes that since it benefited the majority of society, that action is excused. The Sibyl system deems whether something is a crime based on consequences, while Akane deems whether something's a crime based on the action itself. While usually someone who disagrees with the system suffers a heavy toll on their psychopaths or crime coefficient, Akane is able to avoid this and maintain an extremely healthy one. The reason for this is because Akane holds a special ability that no one else in the first season holds.
あの子はなんていうか物事を良しとしている。世の中を許して認めて受け入れている。それでいて危ない橋を渡るのも厭わないんだから、ただ流れに身を任せているわけでもない。刑事っていう仕事の意味と価値を疑うことなく信じてるんだな。
Akane can move past her conflicted views and do what's best for justice. While her ideals are rather opposite of Sibyl, they both shared the ultimate goal of delivering justice. They just have different ways of going about it. Just like any philosophical chat, there is no real conclusion here today. The Sibyl system can be viewed as corrupted, but at the same time be fair. It can be seen as unjust, but also just. The system is the best solution to the situation in psychopaths. If you look at the governments and societies around the world today, you'll find corruption, crime, and flaws within it. An ever-evolving system that's sole purpose is to perfect society and reach peak happiness doesn't seem too awful on paper. But ultimately, everyone will have their own opinion on this matter, so please leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's video. I really enjoyed diving into the topics I covered this week. I had a hard time deciding how to frame the script so that the delivery made sense, but I hope in the end it was enjoyable. While I did cover a lot in this video, I did not cover the other seasons and movies of Psycho-Pass, which showcase other issues in society. Originally, I thought about including them, but when I wrote the script, it was already over 8 pages, so I thought it'd be best to save them for another day. But if you want me to cover the other Psycho-Pass seasons, let me know in the comments. If there's enough support behind it, I'd love to do it. With all that said, thanks for tuning in this week. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content, and as always, I'll see you guys next time. it.